everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this week's Less Than 10 Talk. I'm Piper Harris, coach and CEO of Poema Women's Success Coaching. I believe every woman is called to heightened leadership. In our Less Than 10 Talks, I hope to give you some tips and tools that you can add to your leadership toolbox. So, there's a woman named Dr. Susan Nolan Hoskema. I might be saying her last name wrong. And she conducted research on rumination, the process of chewing on our negative past events. In Sally Helgeson's book, How Women Rise, it's the number 11 habit that every woman falls prey to, or the majority of women fall prey to. So the problem with rumination is that we get stuck in this cycle of thinking about the negative things that have happened to us. So let me share a story with you. A client came to me last week and expressed some massive frustrations in feeling taken for granted. She explained to me that she had been working tirelessly for her company. She'd taken on all these new tasks and just really worked outside of her position. She worked alongside her director and was building up the company. In fact, her extra assignments was absolutely landing the company at an advantage. So she was expressing to her director what she was doing, and that director just kind of dangled that proverbial carrot. And so she was told, just keep on working. We're going to work on that. And during our time together, she was also expressing this frustration and ruminating on feeling taken and granted for. So this last week, it all came to a screeching halt. Having felt that she was being taken for granted and taken advantage of, she completed a month-long work study to show to the C-suite as well as her director, these are the things that I'm bringing to the table. These are the tasks I'm completing, and this is how it is helping our organization. Unfortunately, the study went completely unnoticed by the CEO, and her director said, "Oh, I've done one of those before." My client was absolutely furious. She couldn't stop thinking about what the director was saying. In fact, an inordinate amount of time of our session was just her focused on what this director had said to her. So she realized during our conversation that it was absolutely imperative that she pivoted her thinking away from the rumination and into a more positive search for better horizons. So with this research that this doctor did, it was this process of ruminating. There are some very negative side effects that can take place if you're constantly thinking of the negatives in your past, going over them and over them and over them. So let me ask you, have you ever been stuck, focused on something that negatively happened in your workplace? Well, what happens when you're focusing on these negative events, trying to problem solve them, which they found you're not actually doing? You are creating neural pathways. You're actually establishing this negative habit. You're fortifying it into yourself. And here's the thing. Not only is this a negative habit and it's taking you away from that bandwidth that you need for mental and emotional ability to, develop yourself personally and professionally, it has actually been correlated to depression, anxiety, binge eating, binge drinking, and self-harm. So all of those things, you got to stop the rumination. So my client and I really started digging in. What can she do to stop this? With this doctor's work, she did find that by distracting yourself in a positive way, it can stop that thought process. Now, this is not long-term help. So here's a couple other things that you can start to stop the rumination. Number one, you've got to remember your worth. My client and I actively pursued reflecting on her worth. Her time study was a wonderful example. However, we also dove deeply into her values and how these deep internal beliefs were prevalent in her everyday life, personally and professionally. So she was completing these tasks, absolutely. But she also focused on her trust, her care, her thoughtfulness, and her high standards, and how all of those were rooted in everything she did. So she shifted her perspective from just solely those tasks that she was doing to those deep internal beliefs that she played out in everything she did. Number two, the second thing that she really needed to hone in on is she needed to seek respect, not attention. Our time together, we did identify that she was ruminating, and this was a habit that she had long established. But here's the thing, what she also discovered is that she was seeking attention. She chose to keep saying yes, keep taking on these additional tasks because she just wanted the attention from the C-suite, from her director, from her coworkers, rather than focusing on seeking respect. Now, I'm not saying that she needs to be a bully and go in there and just stomp her fist and say, respect me. But seeking respect through the value you bring to an organization, how you treat your coworkers, conversational styles, all of those things. Seeking respect through a persona or really your deeply rooted integrity, that's what she should be seeking, not attention from others. Number three, the next thing that she needed to do was express her value to management. She waited to the very end to show them the time study. You cannot wait for recognition. You have got to share the values you're bringing to the organization. You can't assume that they know what you're doing or the value that you're bringing. Although the performance reviews are a great time for you to convey this, I suggested to my client that she ask for some time with her director and share 3 areas where she is expressing her greatest value and how it's helping the organization. After expressing her value, then I asked her to ask them, how does this align with my expected roles? And how does this align with the expectation of a promotional role? Now, it's completely up to the management how they react to this conversation, which with her, we'll see what the end result is. But it can help her identify if this is where she needs to stay or if she needs to move on. Number 4, she has got to limit her availability. If you're always saying yes and you're always there, you're always taking care of things, you're going to be taken for granted. This is simply human nature. Who doesn't want nonstop assistance in getting tasks done and looking good in the process? Again, this does go back to this seeking attention. Unfortunately, being taken for granted starts with you. If you're consistently giving without a clear line of progress and expectations of those outcomes, this is going to continue to happen. If you limit your availability outside of your position's tasks, this doesn't mean you stop being a caring team member, but it means limit your availability. Be intentional with your time and the tasks that you are going to support. So in the end, if you're feeling taken for granted in your workplace, you have an opportunity to establish a healthier habit than rumination. You don't want to stay there. It establishes depression, anxiety, binge eating, binge drinking, and it doesn't actually help you problem solve anything. It actually zaps away that bandwidth you need for personal and professional development. Listen, being taken for granted can have a negative and cascading effect on your mental health and the work you put forward, but you ultimately have the choice to change it. So remember your worth, seek respect and not attention, express your value to management, and limit your availability. And if you catch yourself in the midst of just chewing on those negative experiences, distract yourself as quickly as possible with something positive. Get up, take a walk, take a sip of water, whatever it is, distract that initial thought and rebuild a different habit. Thanks so much for joining me today. I am Piper Harris with Poema Women's Success Coaching. If you are stuck in rumination and you are just wanting to reach heightened management, leadership, I am here for you. Please reach out to me for a complimentary consultation where we can discuss how coaching can help you reach and realize the goals and dreams that you have. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll talk to you again soon.